Hi everyone, so patch 2.6.9 is out for a few days, season 21 is just around the corner, and I want to present you with my idea, my overview of what the season 21 meta is going to be, how strong the classes are, how strong the XP metas are, form and pushing meta, and so on. So yeah, take all of this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because we didn't know exactly all of these builds and all those compositions. We only had so much time to test on the PTR. And also the season theme is a pretty big question mark right now. It got changed while the PTR was down already. I expect the season theme to be still quite impactful, especially in Foreman, especially for certain solo classes. So I kind of added a few tiers for that, and then depending on which build, a little bit more than for others. And otherwise, yeah, we also have to see exactly for the Foreman meta. Witch Doctor versus Necro is very close, and Necro, the Witch Doctor is very figured out right now. Necro is very new, so there might still be optimizations that we will figure out, over the course of the months. And the same goes for the XP meta. We tested it a little bit and so on, but in the end, yeah, there will always be, some minor configurations that it can change, and that will, increase the power slightly, like a tier also here and there. And eventually, one might pull ahead a little bit. But yeah, this is what we have right now. And I'm just going to give you my expectations and a little bit of background of why I think it's that way. So this is mostly compiled with my own PTR testing, with my gut feeling, with a bit of calculations. I didn't math out everything super precisely, but it's going to give you a good idea. So let's start with the solo setups. Demon Hunter is looking like the strongest class right now. It's actually performing a bit better than I anticipated, so I believe Demon Hunter would be second or third or so. But the Scout DH somehow is just popping off, and it's also coming down to this weird Valor's quest bug that just made it a bit stronger. And just in general, it seems to perform better and better on the higher levels, which makes sense because positioning is very important on this build, for example. And the more paragons you have, the more tanky you are, the more you can position wherever you want, and that will help you. And also it has a really high fishing potential, similar to Witch Doctor, where you can get insane rifts specifically for this build. And this is also one of the reasons that why it's that strong. In non-season, it has already cleared 150. This is like 12k paragons or so. So obviously this is not reachable in season, but we have the season bonus, and I believe we're definitely going to see a 150 at least on Demon Hunter and probably on Witch Doctor as well. But Demon Hunter is going to do it faster. Yeah, but as I said, it depends a little bit on how good the season theme is. I just added maybe 3, 4, or 5 tiers for the season theme. It might be more than that, it might be less than that. And also, again, this is one of these things that we have to figure out over time, how well we can use the season theme, how we can play around it, and so on. So next up, I think second is going to be Witch Doctor. It's still quite strong. So the nerf was something like a 5-6 tier nerf in solo, and a little bit more in groups, something like 7 tiers or so. So it's still going to be the best group build, probably, and also one of the best solo builds. Spirit Rush is just very, very good. About the 16 build, nothing really changed, so this is all the same. Solo build is much more convenient to play, I'd say, than it was in season 21, because boss kills are much faster now. A lot of the damage relatively got shifted from the Phantasms to the Manitou, and yeah, this will just force faster boss kills. So the build is going to be overall pretty nice to play, I believe, and we'll see. So everyone who is still a Witch Doctor enthusiast is going to have fun with this. Next we have the Necro, we have the Cursed Scythe, and we have the Corpse Explosion. It looks like people are pushing with Corpse Explosion to really good success. So I believe this is going to be slightly behind the Witch Doctor, but it might also be slightly ahead. So this is one of the new builds that we have to figure out. But it's also going to go very, very high. And the Grim Scythe also can go almost the same tiers. It seems like for solo at least, Corpse Explosion might be pulling ahead a little bit. But at the same time, you don't benefit so much from the season theme, because you do have a lot of waiting time, but at the same time you also have to use this downtime to actually prepare your nukes. You have a 48-second cycle or maybe a 60-second cycle for your Corpse Explosion land rotation. And this makes it so that when your season theme comes in between, you don't really have much time to make use of it. So we'll see about that. Next is the Crusader, Heaven's Fury, just the same as ever. It's 4 tiers weaker than before, It loses the season 20 bonus, which was really, really strong for the Ivory Tower setup and so on. But again, I think it's going to be one of the better builds, and it might actually reach 150 with the season theme. So there's also a bit of a question mark. Crusader is rather good at killing, small stuff. So just like in season 19, you can probably just kill Boggets all the way, and then have like crazy pulls with the season theme proccing and killing everything. Crusader can kill a boss quite fast. It's the best Rift Guardian killer in the game. So yeah, we'll see. And just the season theme might carry it to 150 also. Then we have the Barb, which benefits a lot from the season theme, simply because you can kill small stuff really easily, plus you have Rage Flip, you have Ground Stomp and so on in the Whirlwind build. You can make huge pulls, so I expect them to also go at least close to 150 in the end, but overall it's a solid build. Nothing really changed with the Barb, so it just lost some of the season bonuses, but we're basically playing the non-season version now as before, and yeah, just the overall normal Whirlwind playstyle. Frenzy can be used maybe as a Rift Guardian killer, but it hasn't really caught up to the others, which is going to be a Crusader number 1, then Impale, and then yeah, you have Frenzy. It's still not really that useful, but yeah, it's a nice farming build for T16 for GR 110s or something, but for pushing it's still going to be a bit behind. Monk is the same as ever with Tempest Rush, so nothing really changed here. You lost the Shandongs from the season 20, so yeah, that was quite a big nerf to the damage output, and we'll see. But it can use the season theme quite well because of big pulls with Snarkling Strikes, so yeah, I think it's not going to be terrible. Monkus is super crazy T16 farmer. It has the Moku as the Hadric's Gift, so overall still a really solid class, especially if you play more casually, I'd say. But yeah, this is not really the best DPS, yeah. But you always have a spot in a group, so this is also really nice. And lastly, the Wizard. Yeah, it's just clearly the worst by far. And I believe that yeah, we have to wait for season 21 to see anyone seriously play a Wizard at this point. The builds are just like Veers and Lod Hydra, so nothing special here. It lost a lot of TS from the season bonus dropping out, and it's also not really great as a season theme, I believe. So yeah, Wizard is like, dead last. Okay, then we have the 4-man pushing meta. It's gonna be most likely the same as before, with C-Monk, C-Barb as the 2 supports, and then Witch Doctor, Crusader. Witch Doctor being the trash killer, Crusader being the Rift Guardian killer. But there is a lot of potential for the Necro with Grim Scythe. They didn't fix the bug where Necros have infinite essence, and that makes it so that when you have a really big pull, you can do like 1 or 2 attacks with Grim Scythe, and your Necros will just destroy stuff. So yeah, as I said, it's like one of these new builds that needs to be figured out still, but right now it's looking like it's very close to the Witch Doctor, and we'll have to see exactly how this performs in like the crazy GG Rift. I believe that Witch Doctor is still gonna be a little better, and there's still a little potential that the Witch Doctor might be able to one-shot the Rift Guardians on 150. So if that happens with like a CDH instead of the Crusader, for example, this is what people did with a C Necro at the end of season 20. They were just, stacking, 100 monsters at the end at 99% with a power pylon, and then did 1 Phantasm explosion, spawned the boss on the spot where all the Phantasms were stacked, and then they did 2 more explosions with the remaining 2 Phantasms to one-shot the boss, or 2-shot. And maybe this might happen at like, the Paragon 7k plus clears. Yeah, this would make Witch Doctor significantly better than the Necro, because Necro has no chance to do anything like that. And then you can save, like, I don't know, 1.5 minutes of boss killing time or so, which is quite important for, like these really fast speedruns. So I believe you're gonna see something very close to season 20 times, because you have the season theme doing a lot of the work, especially in 4-man. It's gonna be extremely strong, and you can make pulls around it in like a big festing woods and so on. It's just gonna destroy stuff really hard. And then on top of that, you have 4 different effects, so there's almost always something good in there that can clean up the entire screen basically. So we'll see. I expect we're gonna see the first GR 150 clears for both these setups in, I don't know, like 3 to 5 days into the season, and yeah, maybe a bit earlier, we'll see. But it's gonna happen quite early as the last few seasons as well. And then I think there's also some possibility for including a CDH instead of a C-Monk. Especially at higher Paragon levels. We'll have to see, but CDH is extremely strong now, and it just doesn't give you that much healing. It doesn't give you the shield and so on. So if you don't really go for the squirt setup, you can run this, and yeah, it might actually be quite useful. Definitely something worth keeping on the radar, and I might try this a bit myself if I find the people to do this, and if I find the motivation to actually push some 4-man. Usually I don't really do much group play, but we'll see. For the Rift-Guiding killers, yeah, as I said earlier, Crusader, Impale, Frenzy. There's also Hanging Arrow with Unhallowed Essence. So I think this is something that is very good for early season when you're low Paragon, because this kind of gives you a big push in damage for your trash clear to actually reach the Rift Guardian. And when you're pushing, it's more about reaching the Rift Guardian than killing the Rift Guardian. So, you know, Hanging Arrow just cheats your way up by like 4 tiers for your trash clear. So when you're struggling in 150 and you take this, you almost have double the damage. And the boss kill is going to be a lot slower, but you can definitely, you know, reach the boss a lot faster. So, you know, the boss kill, let's say for a good Crusader, I don't know, let's say Paragon 3k, I believe you can maybe do something like 2.5, 3 minutes or so, no pylon. Impale might be, you know, like half a minute slower. And then you have Frenzy, maybe like, I know, like 1 minute slower, 1.5 minutes slower. And then you have Unhallowed Essence, which is probably going to do something like a, I don't know, 4.5, 5 minute kill or so. But, you know, compared to the fastest setup, it's like 2 minutes behind, maybe 2.5 minutes. And the question is whether you can reach the boss 2 minutes faster. And I believe you can. It's going to help you out a lot to like one-shot elite, especially on Witch Doctor setups, but also on Necro. And I think that, especially early on, people might be using this a bit. And then maybe you swap to the Crusader for like the push, or maybe you drop out the Rift-Guiding killer entirely if the Rift-Guiding one-shot is still possible later on. So we'll see. Yeah, and finally, the XP meta. I believe that most people are gonna just run God DH. So the typical setup would be C Barb, CDH, God DH, God DH, or a triple support setup with a monk instead of one of the God DHs. And you will run really fast tiers, like 110s at least, pretty much, once you have all the pieces together and your group is running like in a little bit of a coordinated fashion. And then you can quickly rise to like 115 plus, and then even 120s or so is going to be quite comfortable after, you know, optimizing, augmenting everything and so on. And then we'll see. The red meta is still there. It's kind of on the same level. Really hard to say if it's actually better or not without, you know, like maybe a few days or a few weeks of running both setups, and then you can kind of compare like the averages. Yeah, it's still there. But I believe that God DH is going to pull ahead slightly, especially once it's really optimized, because there is a lot of little things, especially like gameplay-wise, that you can do better with God DH compared to the Reds. The Reds is, you know, it's a really years-old meta. It's figured out, you know, to the max. There's nothing really to explore with this. So there's no really like surprises that can come from here. But on the God DH, we have, you know, stuff like the Valor's Bequest. We have stuff like Odyssey's End. Maybe you run like multiple Odyssey's Ends in this kind of setup, and, you know, depending on how well the people play with that, you can probably squeeze out a bit more like this. So I believe this setup is going to win. And well, as the last resort, you have the Whirlwind plus a Rift-Guiding killer or an Elite killer, which will probably be Impale. So that setup should also be quite solid. But this is about it for the speed setups that are, you know, viable. So this is what I have for you, and kind of like my expectations. As I said, everything is a little bit of a question mark, but yeah, especially I think the solo ranking is pretty good, and then the 4-man, yeah, we'll see, you know, how closely my expectations match to the reality in 3 months. I'm quite excited to see, but yeah, this is what we have. So I hope this overview helps a little bit to make your own decisions. And personally, I'm definitely gonna, you know, blast with Demon Hunter, and I also want to push a new Necro set a little bit, but you know, it's gonna be like later in the season when you know, I'm gonna be way behind anyway, and it's a weaker build than the actual meta builds. So yeah, we'll see. And yeah, otherwise I hope that everyone has a nice season 21. Hope you liked this video, and I'll see you guys next time.